Hey, it's Valkrin. This is 5 Minutes to Diamond for Season 6. Creating the correct attitude towards the game is actually pretty difficult. And this is coming from a player that has played the game since the beta. Every season, everyone wants to get to a certain place in the ladder, right? You have your goals. Getting there feels like everyone is against you. People are pushing you down, people are flaming. It feels bad, man. But it doesn't always have to consistently feel that way because it has to do with your perception. It has to do with how you feel about yourself and how you feel about the game as a whole. And that's your attitude. Now, I wish I could tell you that there was some secret to stop people from flaming. I wish there was a secret to tell you that there was a way that you could get your team to not throw a game or not to flip out and AFK. But what I can tell you is that the only thing you can consistently control in your games is your own gameplay and your own attitude and your approach to the game. If you have an unhealthy approach to the game, you're going to let these situations get blown out of proportion. You're going to flip out and rage when someone in your team makes a mistake. You're going to make your team play worse. But if you have the correct attitude is simply accepting that you're never done learning in the game. You're striving to improve. You're not okay with your current gameplay, but you want to focus on your own gameplay. So when you get into those games and you've got flamers in your team, you've got people going AFK and stuff, remember, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. When you're climbing the ladder, you might lose some games that you shouldn't lose, and you might win some games you shouldn't win. But in the long term, if you are playing consistently well and your attitude is okay, you will climb the ladder, my friends. I've always gotten this question of whether it's better to have a diverse champion pool for counterpicking or a smaller champion pool and go for champion mastery. And I think it is extremely important to go for champion mastery, and that has to do with how much time you can actually put into the game. And also, more importantly, how you can learn the game if you limit the number of changes or variables on your end. If you're playing a smaller pool of champions, you can learn the game faster and easier because the variables on your end aren't changing. You're not having to learn the different matchups from your end and your opponent's end. If you're playing the same champions over and over again, you're going to learn them better. You'll be able to control the games better with those champions. And when new situations arise, you'll be able to adapt to them sooner. I think it's extremely important for players to realize that there are two polar opposite mentalities that come about in the games that will cost you games. So one of the mentalities is being overconfident. When your team or yourself has a huge advantage, being overconfident can lose you games. You take risks that you don't need to take. You go for 1v3 plays, 1v4 plays. You don't need to do that when you're already winning the game. All you have to do is take it slow from there, and you've got the victory in your hands. You just have to stop and think in these games when you have that lead that you don't need to take those risks. On the flip side, the other mentality that will almost guarantee a loss on your end is if you give up too early. If you're demoralized in that game because you're getting camped, because you're already 0-3, you're already behind, and you give up, that will almost always guarantee you a loss. If you hang on, if you just try to stay neutral, if you just try to stay in the game, with whether you're carrying or not doesn't matter. It's just if you're contributing to your team in some way, and that's extremely important. Don't let either one of those mentalities take over your games. Baron is either going to win or lose you the game, and it's really important to try to read these situations, but it comes down to a risk versus reward evaluation, and that's going to come from experience. But what I want you guys to do is simply keep Baron and your ideas behind Baron with an open mind. If you're always ignoring Baron because you're afraid your team's going to throw at Baron, you're losing opportunities to win games. And if you're always just blindly rushing Baron whenever you have the smallest lead, you could be losing games you shouldn't be losing. Keep in mind, Baron is a huge gamble, but can be very profitable if you know when to do it. Crowd control is, in my opinion, the most important stat that can consistently win games, because they create pick opportunities. A pick opportunity is when someone on the enemy team is slightly out of position, crowd control locks them down long enough for more crowd control to lock them down. They essentially are out of position for 1 second, and if your team has a way to lock them down, they do it, and it creates an advantage for your team, because if you take one or two of your opponents off the field, you can create more plays around objectives with a numbers advantage. The three nevers, these might seem obvious to some, to others, this should be ingrained in your head. Reviewing your mistakes is perhaps the most consistent way to improve as a player. You need to play a lot of League of Legends, but if you want to improve quickly in combination, you need to use replay review. Here are some resources that you can use: Law Replay, Baron Replay, op.gg. You can even record it offline with OBS. This should allow you to evaluate your gameplay, compare yourself to other players on those same roles and champions, see what they're doing, how they're succeeding with their games, compare it to your gameplay, find your mistakes, fix them, and you will become a vastly better player. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that subscribe button, and I hope to see you guys next time. Have a good day.